All right, how's it going, everyone? We're starting, so please pay attention. No talking or writing anything down. No, I'm just kidding. You can write stuff down, but please don't talk. How many of you all here are parents of individuals on the autism spectrum? Awesome, you guys rock. Like, it's funny because always the parents are up closer to the front. Like, well, hold on though. Let's see if where are the professionals? Look, there's so many more in the back. All right. So, and there's people in the front. I'm sorry, I don't want to take away the credit there. And how many people here are on the autism spectrum? Yes. Cheer. Yes, there we go. I love it. All right, so I don't know if any of you guys know who I am, but I was diagnosed with autism when I was 9. And at the time, when I was a kid, even before I was 9, my parents had no idea what was going on. I was a very odd kid. My mom told me one time that the minute I was born, I was not crying. I was just sort of looking around at the world, and she was puzzled by that because she thought babies usually cried. I think I did cry a lot, though, too. I'm not telling a lie there. So as a child, as you can see, sort of a nerdy, weird kid right there. There's me with my dad on a train. People with autism love trains, so I always feel that I should include a picture of at least a hand-powered train in my videos. And one thing that really I struggled with was making friends. I had no ability to make friends. I was very bad at it. I was so bad at, actually, the harder part was like making people not hate me. Making friends was like a step later. I was just concerned with like making people not hate me. I got bullied. Kids would make fun of me. Like one time, like even the teachers would make it worse. That's one thing you guys should really be aware of, that the teachers can sometimes make it worse. Not even just from what you say, but just like maybe an exasperated look or anything you have when you're working with a student on the spectrum. I would say that you really need to be careful on how you're coming across, because you might not think that you're showing signs that you're upset, or usually, though, there's issues with that. So grade school. That is not the grade school I went to. That is the School of Hard Knocks. I just searched for school online. And I was very good at math and science and technical things and doing my work. But unfortunately, the social aspect was really hard for me. So what would happen is, I would ask too many questions or do this or that offended people, and I would get kicked out of my class for like 10 minutes until I cooled down, which was stupid, because here's the thing, like if the teacher asks a question and no one's raising their hand, and I raise my hand every time and no one else is raising their hand, I don't think that that's honestly talking too much, because like no one clearly else wanted to talk. But apparently it is, because they want other people to feel like they can raise their hand or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I was bullied a lot. That's not actually me. I don't have any pictures of me getting punched, unfortunately. I wish I did from school, but now it's too late, because no one's going to bully me now. And if they do, they can try. But so one thing that people always say about bullying is you should ignore it. Here's the thing. I took that advice literally. So I would ignore them so much that like they would realize that I'm actually reacting to them, because it was clear that I just started ignoring them when I got bullied. I think better advice is to say something that sort of dismisses what they say as ridiculous. Like if you watch, like, if you say to like some like, socially like advanced high school girl, like if you try to tease her, she's gonna be like, whatever, and like I care. Like, so she says, and then like completely different, the person's like, and it totally turns the tables. If she just ignored the person, like they might still continue bullying. So that's a good thing. But I mean, I was a very big kid. I actually was able to defend myself physically. There I am. That's a joke. I wasn't. In case you didn't notice. Homework. I was very good at doing the homework. when I did it. So the problem was that I would never do it, and I would just let it keep going until I had like all this late work, and I'd get in trouble, and they would always say, you know what, once you get in the real world, like they're not going to accept anything late. Like, wait until you get to college. It's even worse, like in college. And then after that, it's like not acceptable. Well, here's the thing. That's not true. Because like if you send your taxes in late, you like they'll still accept them. Like, so I was a very seriously, and like even like your DMV registration, it might cost like $10 extra because it's late, but so I guess so. But seriously though, I mean, I did get in a lot of trouble because of that. What would happen is I would get overwhelmed. And I think that the easiest way that made it possible was to break it into small steps. Obviously, that sounds like really basic advice. But if you stop to think about that, you realize that some tasks are very hard to break down into small parts. And so I would constantly struggle with that. And also, I would lose my assignments. Like my hands were like throwing something into space, into a black hole. Like it would, like she's like, hey, here's the assignments, and like, then instantly she's like, hey Alex, where did your assignment go? I'm like, I don't know, I lost it. And she's like, all right, here's another one. But then I would just lose it and go home, and I couldn't do that. But here's the thing, all your assignments, I think, and I think that in this day and age, it's really ridiculous that we don't have assignments always on the computer. Everything should be sent electronically. At least in college, at least. And what helped me was developing, oh wait, I'm sorry, I got completely sidetracked. What helped me was school accommodations. And one thing that I first thought when I first got put into IEP, or individualized education plan, the first thing I was like really kind of ashamed to go to like a special ed class, sort of. And I fought it, and like I always felt like I didn't want to do it. So it was really difficult for me. But if I didn't have that, I would definitely have not turned anything in, because the teacher was very good at going and making sure she knew what my assignments were, helping me really manage that. And that's really important, because when you are younger, it's even harder. I get better and better as I got older, and now I use an iPhone, but I put my calendar online. I have it all synchronized on Google, and all my tasks I put on there. And you know what? If I lose my phone, I'm not in deep trouble, because it synchronizes that to the cloud, and I can just go on go buy a new phone, and it'll automatically load all the stuff back, or just go on my computer and look, or my iPad or whatever. So I think it's really important to maybe get iPod Touch or some sort of personal assistant device where you can put your stuff on. And the best part about that was I got that first started when it was a Palm Pilot. And oh my God, once I got my Palm Pilot in middle school, not only did I start using it to put tasks in, but it had games on there. And here's the thing, you're gonna think, oh, well, it has games, you're not gonna wanna give that to them, they'll just spend all their time playing the games. Not true, it just made me really protect it and not lose it. And then there's this game where you could play with other players. And since I had the Palm Pilot, people were like, I want one. And so the entire school started getting these Palm Pilots, and all these kids had Palm Pilots in school. And it was great, because I didn't feel left out. People thought I was cool because of it. You know, a lot of times you get an assistive device, and it's something that kind of takes away from what you're trying to do in a social setting, is fit in. And I had a lot of trouble fitting in. Family was really important to me. They helped me out a lot. Honestly, I was a really not troubled kid, I guess you could say that, but my parents had a lot of trouble with me, let's put it like that. If I were them, I would probably hate my life, at least then. I would throw dishes against the wall and do all this crazy stuff, and I refused. I got so depressed in middle school, or high school, I refused to go to school. I was getting Fs in not all my classes. I was getting Fs in pretty much most of my classes, and this was high school, and I think it was the second to last year, and I didn't even go to school. I would, like, my parents would try to, like, you know, put me in the car because I think it's their responsibility to bring the kid to school. But I mean, you know, if a teenage boy doesn't want to go to school, it's like kind of hard to like move him to the school. You know, they tried and I would not go. So yeah, I feel really bad about that now. Jesus, wow, I'm sorry. Wow. Yeah, but you know what happened? I gained self-esteem, and that is the most important thing that turned things around for me. My parents didn't even think I was going to graduate from high school, much less college. But I turned things around because my parents were always supportive of me, even when I was doing bad things and like not applying myself in school and refusing to do homework. My parents would support me, and that is what allowed me to do stuff like I joined the theater, and oddly enough, like the people in the theater were like way more accepting of me, I guess because they're like sort of weirdos too. And that gave me a self-esteem. I started the website, wrongplanet.net, and let me tell you about that because that sort of changed my life as well. I wouldn't be standing here right now if I hadn't started this website. I guarantee you that. There you see me in my office with a photographer from the Daily Progress in Charlottesville, Virginia. He spelled my last name wrong in the article every single time he wrote it. My last name is Plank, P-L-A-N-K. He spelled it P-L-A-N-C-K, despite the fact that I had a long discussion and continued to bring up, please don't spell my name wrong. Remember, it's P-L-A-N-K. But this is me creating the website wrongplanet.net. And what happened was I went online when I was in my teen years, and I looked for support. I went to look for, you know, people who I could find that were like me, because at that day and age, I was 9 when I got diagnosed, and when I was a teen, like Asperger's, I didn't know anyone in Charlottesville, Virginia with Asperger's, and it's not that small of a town. I mean, it's like a university town. But I couldn't, I'm sure I did know people, I just didn't know they had it because it wasn't being diagnosed as much back then. But I could not find anyone online, even online. I mean, I found like one website that had like 6 people in a chat room, and then it was like, but none of them were ever there. And also, I didn't like any of them. Like, you know, like just because they have autism doesn't mean I'm gonna like, you know, care to talk to them. They just seem like not the people you know, I'm exaggerating slightly, but you know, there was very few resources. So I decided, along with a friend who I also met on one of the one person that like I really connected with on another website, we were like, hey, this website doesn't really have anyone on it. So we could do something way better and like awesome and like do it ourselves and like create this website. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And so we together started doing this. I was living across the country. He was in Vermont. I was in Virginia. I was visiting my grandparents for the summer, and my dad one time bought my granddad an electric typewriter, and he was afraid to use it. So they definitely didn't have the internet there. So I had to bike every day to the library to use the internet. Creating this website, it's like I'm always there, and they're like, "What are you doing?" You don't understand. Like it's like that. So once I started this site, and honestly, I created this because to me, I'll be honest, it was really just because I wanted to find other people like me. It was a very selfish thing that I did. However, everyone else had those same feelings, and because of that, it ended up benefiting. Now, more than 85,000 people are, it says 70,000 on there. It's like things keep changing, like, you know, even that fast. But now it's more than 80, and we have hundreds of thousands of page views a day. Well, not hundreds, like about 100,000 or less, a little bit less maybe, like 80 to 100,000 page views per day, 20-something thousand unique visitors per day. So clearly there was a need for this. And if you want, I don't know if I can show you guys sort of what the site looks like, if that would be helpful, or like I can go through. All right. So this is the site. This is the front page of our site. It actually, it's not wrong planet, but there's this thing called overscan, and sometimes when you plug a computer into a projector, you don't see the whole image. So I guarantee it is wrong planet, though. We have articles on the front, 5 tools. This is one of our authors from Denmark, or no, yeah, she lives in Denmark, and she writes about various things as a woman with Asperger's syndrome. And there's a video I did with Diane Kruger. I'm also a consultant on the hit TV show The Bridge. There's one. So there we got tips for keeping a good job, getting a job, what to do if you lose your wallet or it gets stolen. Because honestly, people assume that we can do these things, like figure out how to get new replacements, like your Social Security. But you need all these things that I didn't know about, and it took a long time to figure out when I lost my wallet. And also, people with autism lose their wallets a lot. I don't anymore because I'm very protective of it. But I would lose my wallet. Anyway, that's enough talk about wallets. We have a chat room. Articles. Oh, this is the discussion forums. Now, this is where the magic happens. So we have all these discussion forums. And if you look, you can see there's a ton of people posting. But people will post anything from, what do I do to get a job? Or how do I get a girlfriend? Is a really popular topic. See, look at that. You can see that has 39,000 or 395,000 posts in there or something. So here's an example of one of the. And then so this is what you see. So people will say, what can I expect from therapy? Here's an example. You post your whole thing. People will post, and that's not actually the people pictures. A lot of times, they're called avatars. So that's not a cat posting, in case you're wondering. I know the cat's what? And that's, although that is, I think, Peter Pan. So I'm sure you guys can read this, but you should definitely check it out. Honestly, if I had not created this site, I definitely would have, never graduated from high school. I would have been so depressed because that was the reason I got a lot of my self-esteem, was being, not just from creating the website and getting, attention for creating the website, but also because I was finally able to find people like me, and it's great. So college, university, how many here want to hear about university? Okay, not that many. Okay, that's enough. Everyone's like, no, don't talk about university. We don't care. It's so important. College, for me, was not a time really for learning a lot of intellectual things. I mean, I went to classes sometimes, as little as I could as possible and still pass. But for me, it was I don't know, turning into a man, learning what to do in social situations, learning how to act on my own. And I highly suggest that if you're worried about sending your kid off to college, that you realize that there's no way that he's not gonna, the worst that could happen is he won't do well, and then he'll come back home. And I think that's worth the risk, because you never know if you can, and I'm talking about living independently, in a dorm, away from home. A lot of parents are very worried about doing that, and that any parents don't want to send their kid off to a dorm, because, that God knows what's happening there. But, drinking and all this stuff. But you really should realize that if you don't, drop someone in the water and see if they can swim, you'll never know. There's no other way to do it. I guess you could teach someone to swim, slowly and, gradually build up to it. But I think it's sort of sink or swim. And I think that really helps. And that helped me. I would never have become independent if I was not 2.5 hours away from my parents, which is way too long for them just to pop in for a visit, which I was happy for as well. I thought it was a great idea to participate in clubs and groups, and you meet people that you have connections with. That's actually a real chess player right there. She's some Russian chess player. I Googled chess player images, and she came up. But I think that the chess club will probably look more like that picture, or like the robotics club. I joined Ultimate Frisbee, very good physical activity, a lot of fun. That may be photoshopped. I'm not. Friends. I think having good friends is really important. So here's me with a lot of people. Not all of them are personal friends. Like Jack Black I met one time. Well, actually a couple times, but lot of important thing. What I would do in college, which worked really well for me. What didn't work was something I tried earlier when I was in elementary school, which was just to walk up to everyone and ask each and every one of them, will you be my friend? Not the best way to get a friend. Although it did work sometimes. So I think those people were probably just as clueless of how you make friends as I was. But one thing that I did in college, which I think really helped me, was I went to a school with 30,000 students there. And I'll tell you this, that's really convenient for me, because in high school, once I ran out of people to talk to, and once I alienated every single other person, there was no one left. But in college, this was really great, because in college, there's 30,000 students at my university. I can just go up, try to make some friends. If I fail, I'll find another group. If I make those friends and I have those as friends for a while, it might take, maybe a couple weeks before I do something that pisses them off, and I have to find another group. But then I learned how to keep friends, which is even better than making them, because they're not really that useful if you don't keep them. Physical activities. I think it's really important to do a lot of physical activities: jumping, bowling, biking, walking the dog, and rafting, I guess, or whatever that is. It's a tube that you pull with a boat. Oh, I don't know what that's called. Does anyone know what that's called? Is that called tubing? I thought tubing was when you just sat in a tube and went down the river. Maybe you're right. It probably is. But here's the thing that I think is really important to realize, is that when I do physical activity, my mental state is so much better if I'm in shape. And honestly, when I wasn't in shape, and there have been times in my life when I wasn't in shape, I'm usually depressed and I'm not doing well and I can't think straight. So I really stress the importance of exercising or doing something. Here's the thing though, and I just got an email. Sorry, that was inappropriate to check my email in the middle of a talk. See, but that's something that you learn, that's inappropriate. It's sort of an example of things not to do. Yes, team sports were kind of hard for me. The best team sport that I found was swimming, because it's a team sport, but you kind of do your own thing, and then you're done, and then the next person goes. So you can get away with not. And the reason I say that it's a good idea to do maybe not a team sport is because, or maybe a team sport that is, when I was on soccer, for instance, I would do inappropriate things, and the other players would get annoyed with me, and I would mess things up for the whole team because I, was like, oh, I don't want to play right now, and I would walk off, or and there's a goal there, so, and I was the goalie, so it's not good to do that. I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Disclosure. That's Demi Moore and Michael Douglas in the film Disclosure, in which she tells him that she has autism. That's not actually true. No. So, no. This disclosure is a serious topic. I think that, for instance, when I first had Asperger's, I never really wanted anyone to know. I was ashamed of it. Then I was like, okay, I want to tell everyone because I think it's cool. But here's the thing. You can't really do that. You can't just go around and the first thing you say is, hi, I'm Alex and I have Asperger's syndrome. I mean, you could. Maybe here at this conference you would say that. But a lot of kids will just walk up and the first thing they say is, hey, my name's Joe and I have Asperger's. I mean, if someone walks up and says that to me, it might make more sense. But if you say that to some random person, they're going to be like, wow, that kid's kind of weird. I wonder why he would say that in the first thing he told me. It's kind of like saying I don't know. If you had diabetes, you wouldn't like say that the first time you meet someone, right? I mean, I'm not comparing the two, but I think it's important to do what I call a partial disclosure when it's appropriate. So not the first time you meet someone, don't do that. What you should do is give like information about yourself that feels like it would help the situation out. So if you're bad at directions because you have Asperger's syndrome, or like if you're bad with names because you have Asperger's syndrome, you don't even need to say you have Asperger's syndrome. Everyone says they're bad at names because in case they forget the name, like then they can you know, be like, oh, I'm bad with names. It's okay. But you know, like if you're bad at directing, don't say I have Asperger's and so I'm bad at names. Just say I'm really bad at names, like the worst person like you've ever met that's bad with names. I cannot remember names to save my life. Role models, real important. Filmmaking. I started doing filming, and that was really cool for me because a creative outlet was really important. And I think that that is what helped me make friends, because as I mentioned, media, arts, like anything like artistic, the people doing that are kind of weird, like compared to like, you know, someone maybe at a, you know, in the sales. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some weird salespeople, I'm sure there are. But yeah, autism in the media. Yeah, so you can see autism in the media, the bridge. All right, so I'm going to show a quick video if I still have time. Yes, I do. What time is my talk over? Does anyone know? 4:30? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to show a little interview I did with Diane Kruger about working with her for the role on the bridge. I did have. Sorry about that. All right, let's get some. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course.
As you know, we're here on the set of The Bridge. What attracted you to the role of Sonia Cross? Hold on, I actually should probably explain what The Bridge is for those of you who don't know. I totally forgot to do that. See, now people are leaving because I've totally pissed them off. They're like, I don't know what The Bridge is, I don't care about this, I'm gonna go. So The Bridge is a TV show on FX, and nice. So the Bridge is on FX, and it's a show about a detective. Wow, I feel like I'm like at a concert, like a rock star or something with these spotlights now. It's a show about someone, a detective with, wow, okay. So no, don't turn them off, keep them on, it's really cool, I like it. So it's a show about, I can't even say it. So it's a show about a female detective with Asperger's syndrome who lives in El Paso, Texas, and it's has her her partner is actually working with her on a mystery. They find a body on a bridge directly on the border between the US and Mexico. She has to work with this Mexican guy who's the complete opposite of her, not only in culture, but in like personality-wise. He's very outgoing, like sort of funny, and she's sort of like, you could call cold, and like doesn't really understand body language and says really weird things. It's really fun. Some of the stuff we come up with, it's actually pretty fun. I would tell you one story, but yeah, so, and I was called to work on the show to be her consultant, and what I did was I came in there and I'm like, all right, so you need to do this, this, and this different. They actually, it was so cool to get called in to work on a TV show, because I've been working on my own documentaries and films. I direct, produce, and direct. So when I got this call from this guy who's the president of the FX network, he's like, hey, I'm the president of the FX network, and I was wondering if what you know about autism. I didn't think that I would actually be working on the show, because he's like, nah, you're gonna come in and like talk to them, or maybe just talk to them on the phone for a little bit. Well, he invited me in for lunch. My car broke down on the way there, of course, so I was like 15 minutes late, because fortunately I live in a city where you can, like, you know, if your car breaks down, you can pop off somewhere real fast and like, you know, a cab or whatever. So I did that, and I got there, and they talked to me for 3 hours. Now, if any of you have ever been in a writer's room, and I doubt you have, because I don't know how many like TV shows are written here in Alabama, But, and I had never been in one either. I mean, it's very hard to get into one because it's very secretive. They don't even allow people who want to be in the writer's room in LA, to go in there unless they have a reason to be there. And usually there's no reason for anyone to be there unless they're, helping to write. So I was there, and it's very daunting. So as I said, if you've never been in a writer's room, which I know most of you haven't, it's very daunting experience because they're just a table full of writers. And writers are not the most diplomatic people, and they just ask all these personal questions about autism and like what I would do if like how autistic people have sex, and I'm like, it's like, okay, this is like kind of getting personal here, but so yeah, and now like then they gave me a part on the show too, like I actually get to talk. I'm an actor now. Sweet. So I'm gonna just play the video.
Sonia was a very interesting gal. She's a cop, a detective, and we come to find out in the show that she's very good at her job because she is obsessive when it comes to murder and serial killers. And part of that is because she is on the spectrum, and crime is her passion, and she just, all her energy and time goes into finding out why people do horrible things to each other.
How did you hear about Asperger's for the first time?
Actually, it's kind of through this show. I obviously had heard about autism before, but I didn't know that Asperger's would fall on the spectrum. So thanks to you and thanks to Autism Speaks, I really was able to really sort of submerge myself with that condition and the challenges that some people face because of that, and what it means to live an everyday life with that condition, and how you can excel at certain things, and then the shortcomings that sometimes people who are affected by this face.
So we're about to start episode 6. How has your character developed since the pilot?
Well, I don't know if she so much develops. This is the first time for her that she has to work with a partner. She's always been very singular and protected by Ted Levine's character, Hank. And so this is a really big learning experience for her. She has to watch out for somebody. She's being watched out for, which is also very unusual for her. And she sort of takes some social cues from him, and she's trying to be a little bit more social because those are one of the things that she finds very difficult to deal with.
What about this role has been challenging for you?
Everything. No scene is ever just a scene where I say my lines, because her world is just a little bit different for her. She's very literal, as you know. She doesn't really understand jokes, and she's very honest, and she doesn't understand why people lie. And then at the same time, she's so much ahead of the game in many other ways, and people look up to her because she really has the ability to focus and be very less affected by what's going on around her. She kind of has the ability to focus on things that people don't necessarily see.
Is there anything in Sonia's character that you relate to in your own personal life?
So many things. I wish I knew how to handle a gun. I'm very, very fond of Sonia. I find her incredibly endearing and charming. And sometimes she also breaks my heart. She's someone that I can identify with being in a position that people don't ever fit in. I'm sure a lot of teenagers feel like that when they grow up. And I still feel like that sometimes. I can be extremely shy when I'm in a big crowd, for example. I'm not very good at schmoozing and talking to people, and so I can only imagine if everyday life for you feels like that, with the challenges that you might face. So I don't know. And then at the same time, I find her very charming. She's just like, I feel like she's such a cool girl.
Awesome. Is there anything that you'd like people to learn from this show?
I don't like to tell people, oh, this is something that you can take away from this, because I think what we do needs to be entertaining first and above everything else. And then it's our job as actors to try and bring as much substance to the characters. In my case, hopefully bring as much substance as I can to portray this condition, as accurately as I can. And I just hope that people will see different personalities, different cultures, people who face different things in their life grow and evolve, and you know, hopefully that's something that they can relate to, and they can understand people that they didn't necessarily understand before, maybe a little bit better.
Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I'm adding that I'm very grateful that you're here, and I think this is really great that you're doing this, and thank you for helping me to be honest about this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I would say, like, I would like you guys to clap, because I think it's very great what Diane Kruger is doing for her, because honestly, here's the thing. Usually when you watch a character with like autism or anything like that, and also I think it's really great what the creators of the show have done by including me as someone who goes on set and is there every time she's on set, and will give her notes and say, listen, hey, I'm not there every time she's on set, but I'm like there to be her support and help her make it as accurate as possible. And it's very rare that they do that. They usually don't hire a consultant for this kind of thing. They usually just look up some stuff on Wikipedia and like, all right, let's make someone who follows every single one of these symptoms, because it's a list, and you come up with these stereotype characters who like kind of make it bad for people like us on the spectrum. It's like the media is what shapes people's view. You know, it's a very powerful tool, and we're actually using it in a way that empowers people with autism by showing a multifaceted, multidimensional character who actually, you know, isn't a stereotype, and it's in a drama too. So it's, you know, there was a picture that I went through very quickly of like The Big Bang Theory. That's funny, but that guy has like every characteristic of Asperger's, you know, and like, and even some characteristics that people with Asperger's don't, you know, and like, and I'm not saying that it's a comedy, so it's kind of funny that he does, but like, I don't know. So the show is actually based on a Danish show. All right, here's me on the set. I get to sit in these director chairs, and you know, like, I get little headphones, and they're like, they do takes, and they're like, hey, Alex, what do you think of that? I'm like, well, what if she said this instead? They're like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. And like, they literally let me do that. Pretty cool. But yeah, here, oh, and the other thing is, I don't know, you can't really see it that well, but that is a wrongplanet.net mug. I don't know if you know this, but a product placement in a major television show costs a lot of money. I didn't have to pay. And here it pops up again. Yeah, look at that. And this is actually a wider frame, but next to that is a picture of a body that's like someone who died. And I didn't want to spoil it for any of you who haven't watched it to know that this person died. So I cut that part of the image out of this because that's nice. Coyotes, like, well, no, you put the coyote up to warn off other coyotes, apparently. But that's not a real coyote. It's a stuffed thing. I feel like I look way too happy standing next to that thing. And then you got the creepy cop in the background. This guy is like a weirdo. This is a cool character. Oh, and I get to act in the show, which I think is pretty cool for someone like, you know, on the spectrum. Like, I've always wanted to act, and they gave me a role in the show, and I get to say stuff to them. And I'm not going to tell you what I say, because it might be a spoiler. But you know what, actually, I don't care. I'm going to spoil it. I know I am. I'm going to do it. Like, don't, I said, this came for you. In this scene, yeah. and they said I'm coming back, and I hope that I do. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions real quick about the bridge or anything, like, just before I move on? One person has a question over there. She asked, is it a sitcom or a movie? It's not a sitcom, because it's not funny. It's a drama, but it's a TV show with episodes. So you can watch it on the FX channel. You get that. It comes on in August, like near the end of August. It should start the second season. But you should be able to buy the DVD soon. And you can buy it on iTunes if you have an iTunes account, or I think maybe even also if you have an Amazon account, you can watch it online and buy it that way. So any other questions? Yeah? So what she'll do is she'll be stubborn about things that she believes to be true and catch things. She has such an attention to detail. One of the things that she's bad at, I think she's a really good cop because of her attention to detail and being able to find clues. Yes, as a cop, you need to be good at interrogating as well. She's not the best. One scene that we shot, the first thing I worked on with her, she goes to console the husband of someone who died. And this guy is like sitting there, and one of the things I told her to do was a stim, and taught them what that was. And so she's doing this stim, and people with autism can't make eye contact. But her boss is sort of this father figure, and he knows that she can't make eye contact. So he's like, and then like she's on the phone with him. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go visit this victim, and ask him some questions about maybe he might know why she was killed. And he's like, the last thing is like, all right, Sonia, remember eye contact. So we decided like, she would actually make eye contact, but she just stares the guy down. She's like, and it's a little funny, but it's it's serious too, because she ends up actually getting kicked out of the house because she was starting to ask questions and like offend the guy about his wife just died, and it's kind of hard. So, but they actually, and I love the fact that they spent the money to do this, because I don't think usually they would. They decided that upon like me coming onto the show, they would actually reshoot this entire scene because it didn't play right, because they didn't understand like all the like nuances, because you can read about it, but like unless you're someone living on the spectrum or someone who can like see these things, you don't know. So we reshot this scene with a totally different like result, when this scene was very memorable. Any other questions? All right, you in the back. So, well, the hardest part is actually giving the advice, because I don't know, like, first of all, like, I'm working with like a major movie star who's internationally known. Like, she's been in like Tarantino movies. Like, she was like in Troy. She was in National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. So, like, she's starring all these things. And also, actors sometimes can be a little like, I don't know, hard to read, or like when they're not acting, because like I think that actually, honestly, like a lot of actors are on the autism spectrum, and like they choose because they choose acting because they've had to act all their life. That's why it's appealing to me. I actually have to like do this to fit in. I have to be natural at acting. I have to like think about things in a way that actually makes me come across a certain way, and I've gotten very good at it. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to be social. But what was the question again? Oh, yeah. The hardest part is actually knowing when I should give her advice and when I should keep my mouth shut and just like let her do her thing. And sometimes, and that's hard, because for people with autism, we love certainty, and this is one of those jobs that doesn't even have a owner's manual. There's no right or wrong way to do it. One day I could give her advice, and like she won't want it because she's trying to be in the character or something, and then I'll give her advice, or I won't give her advice another time, and she'll be like, why didn't you tell me about that? I'll be like, well, I thought you were sort of in the zone or something. It's like, no, you need to tell me. So I've had to learn. It's very hard. I get to work with the writers too, so we make the scripts accurate. So that is hard too, knowing what I would do. But to answer your question actually directly, instead of saying something kind of related to what you asked, but not actually answering your question, I will answer it. And my answer to your question is that I will tell her things that I would do in that situation. I will think about it. And yeah, it can be challenging to see, because I don't want to be, because sometimes I'll react differently. It really depends on my mood, and it's hard to, sort of gauge, and sometimes it's more important, what the other people say. And sometimes the autism stuff is not the point of this scene, and like, sometimes that might get in the way if you try to like, play it up too much, and you don't want to overplay it. So, like for example, one funny scene I really liked was, she goes into a bar, and she wants to pick a guy up, okay? And she goes in this bar in Texas, and guy comes up and is like, can I buy you a drink? She's like, no. He's like, oh, okay, and he walks away. She like look, and you can see her like disappointment that he walked away. And then she like thinks for a second, and she's like, has like an idea, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go over and ask him. So she walks over and asks him, why did you walk away? I just didn't want a drink. He's like, oh, okay. And like, you know what that means when like someone asks you for a drink. It means that they like you, like, right? I mean, it's like that they're attracted to you. So, but like what she's like, she asked the guy if he wants to have sex. And so like, would you like to have sex? And he like looks, because if a woman that looks like that says that to you out of the blue, you're probably going to question it for a second. But eventually he's like, I'll just go anyway. We'll see what happens. Yeah. And so it was very, you know, yeah, so I mean, I don't know, like, if you guys want to ask some more questions, or what would you rather? You want me to keep going, or do you want to ask questions? Like, if you want me to keep going, raise your hand. Jesus. Okay. Travel. I think travel is really important for people on the autism spectrum. Because travel really broadens your mind, and it allows you to do a lot of cool stuff. There's me, I drove up a mountain in West Virginia, right there. And I feel like any other vehicle would not have been able to do that. It was fun. There's me next to the Venice, California. Not Venice, in Italy. That's me on the top of a mountain. That's another one. There's me in London. There's me there. Anyway, travel's important. All right, you got the point. Self-advocacy. What's that? I'm at the Pennsylvania Hotel across from Madison Square Gardens in New York City at the Hackers Conference. Because oddly enough, and this talk was packed. Like, this wasn't even a conference for autism. But it's a hackers, like computer programmer kind of thing, like computer hackers things. So like, but the place was packed. You know why? Because all of them are on the spectrum. It's a computer security conference, actually, and they're all on the spectrum. So, and our talk got like way more than like other things. But, sorry, to go back to the self-advocacy thing. Self-advocacy is important because of the fact that you need to advocate for yourself, and a lot of times people on the autism spectrum don't want to do that because we feel like we get rejected so much. Why try to stir the waters, or like, you know, stand up for what we want or what we need? Very important to do it. Also very important to be proud of who you are, and like to not be afraid to tell people about it, you know? When I first heard it, I was ashamed of it. You know, honestly, I look back on that person and I sort of think that sucks. You know, I shouldn't have ever felt that way, but because of the way society treats it, you know, we end up, yeah. I kind of already talked about that. All right, so this is a managing finances situation. These are not my finances, actually. This is drug money. I'm not joking. I found this on the DEA's website, the results of a raid, and I thought it would be appropriate to use that as managing finances, because clearly they didn't manage it well enough because the government seized it. In reality, that is so important. And what I recommend is there's tools that allow you to budget in a way that's actually, there's two schools of thought with this. One is that if you use cash money, you're less likely to spend as much and you can track it. However, I'm also less likely to lose it, more likely to lose it. So I prefer using credit and debit cards because also I can look and see what I spent. And there's a website, and I really highly recommend this. It's called mint.com. You put all your finances on there, very secure, like it collects the info from there, automatically allows you to create budgets. It automatically figures out what each like item is categorized into. Sometimes it gets it wrong, like if the name is, you know, something that sounds like it might be a, you know, anyway, but you can change it if it gets it wrong. And it shows you a graph of like how much you're spending on this each month, how much you're spending on that. And also, if you go over your budget, it will send you an alert on your phone, like either text message or whatever you want, like email. And so you'll know, like, hey, you just spent like, you know, overspent your budget for food. You should probably stop eating at expensive restaurants, or get a better job where you can pay for it. Which brings me to work and finding a job. I love how that worked. I didn't even plan that. I didn't even know that was next. So very important to realize that the most important thing for getting a job has nothing to do with your qualifications. The very most important thing is social skills and like being charismatic. Because honestly, if you're really good at social skills and suck at your job and like can't even do what you said you could, you probably might still get the job as long if you impress the interviewer with your great social skills, or you know. And a lot of people with autism can't like put that together because that's not how they think. They reward people based on their merits, which is how ideally it should happen. But you know, this is the world we live in. So I think in that situation, you should really practice being persuasive and like being very confident in the job interview and talking and like smiling and you know, I mean, you might think and look at me and be like, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He seems like he might be charismatic. I might not. I don't think that I have always been charismatic. You know, it's taken me a lot of time to like try to develop skills that allow me to communicate in a way that people can relate to or sort of connect with, or you know, self-effacing humor and you know, like just being like someone who's like fun to be around. Like it's hard to do that when you have a social skills issues. And that's actually me. I got to work on the PBS presidential debate, which was the coolest thing ever for me. First. Anyway, any questions on that? No. Okay. Dating. All right, this is not actually my girlfriend, but I thought it would like, that's one of the Real Housewives of Orange County. So anyway, dating. Anyone here ever dated? We got 3 people in the back. Oh, we do have someone in the front too. All right. You know what though? Like, if I were in a room full of you know people on the autism spectrum, I bet you might have people not raise their hands, and actually not raise their hands because not because they're being lazy like you guys were doing, but because they actually haven't had dates. And you know why? Because there's a fear of rejection, and also the fact that rejection they see as a failure. Here's the thing, even if you don't have autism, like you're gonna get rejected by a lot of girls if you're a guy and you're asking girls out. When you get rejected, you shouldn't see it as a failure. You should see it as an opportunity to now have more time to ask someone else out. Because honestly, it is a numbers game in a way. If you don't ever ask anyone out, when you do find that one person you really want to ask out, you might be too nervous to do it because you're afraid they might say no. But if you're used to people saying no all the time, it's probably, you know, yeah. So here's this, I found this thing. It said you should be yourself. And everyone here probably knows which one of those is saying that. Anyway, and so the advice to be yourself. I do think that like being yourself is important. However, that doesn't mean that you should just talk on and on about what you like. You should just ask questions. And honestly, if you're not getting any dates or you're having a real hard time like relating to women or whatever, maybe you need to change some things about yourself. I know that sounds horrible, but like, you know, there's a thing called self-improvement. You know what? And unfortunately, you know, it's kind of like home improvement. You know, like, you know, I accept my house for what it is, even though it's leaking. And like the roof's about to cave in. Driving. So I think very important that people on the spectrum are encouraged to drive. I mean, here's my opinion. Most parents probably fear the picture on the top right corner is no people, by the way, I just want to say this, no people were harmed in the making of this photo. That's actually my car. It caught fire on the freeway. They shut down 2 lanes of the 405 freeway and like had helicopters and like all this craziness. But I really think it's important to drive, especially somewhere like Alabama where there is no public transportation system. In New York City, yeah, you can get away with it in New York City. Alabama, even LA, I think you should have a car, you know, because yeah, like, and also going on the bus is kind of like, I'm kind of worried about that, like going on the bus. I think we're actually better at driving than neurotypicals. That's, yeah. These are like all cool. All right, so, oh, see, look, I'm like obsessed with cars, clearly. Only 2 of these our mind. Help. Asking for help. A lot of people on the spectrum. Oh, shoot. I forgot to show my dating video. Would you guys like to see that? Or, okay.
Hi, and welcome to Autism Talk TV. This is the first of a new series of episodes featuring the Peers Center at UCLA, which does social skills training. So in this episode, Alex learns to flirt, and Alex will be flirting with a real girl at a real doctor's office. Stay tuned. Okay.
Hi, we're here with Liz Laugesen, and we're talking about dating etiquette as a part of our social skills series. Liz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Dating is a really important part of a lot of people's lives, and one thing that I think a lot of us have trouble with is letting the other person, your interest, your romantic interest, know that you're interested. I know there's flirting and other ways of making that happen. Could you give me some advice on that?
Well, it's really interesting. They've done all this research that actually kind of breaks down what people do when they're flirting, and then if they're flirting effectively, this is what it's supposed to look like. So you start by kind of making eye contact with the person, right? Okay, what do you think you do once you've sort of engaged them in the eye contact? What should you do?
Wait until they look away.
Well, okay, so if we do that, that might make it look like we're sort of staring at them, right? When they look over, let's say I'm looking over at you and you kind of look over at me, should I do anything that
smile?
I should smile, right? Absolutely. Do I want to do a big toothy smile, or do I want to do maybe just kind of a casual, kind of nice and friendly smile?
Probably casual.
Yeah, probably like a little casual, kind of nice little half smile maybe.
Yeah.
One of the things that you're going to need to be doing before you ever ask the person on a date is assessing whether or not it seems like they're interested in you at all. And so by this point, we should have been trading information and finding some common interests with this person. And that's typically how it starts when you ask someone out on a date. You're just kind of casually talking, you're trading information back and forth, you're talking about something that's interesting to both of you.
Are you watching Midnight in Paris on your iPhone?
I am. Do you know of it?
Yeah, I love Woody Allen.
Oh, so do I. This is one of my favorite movies.
Do you have a favorite of his?
Oh, I don't know. What's yours?
It's called Manhattan.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Oh man, that's his best movie.
Oh, I should definitely check it out then.
Let's say we find out that we both are interested in seeing some movie that's coming out soon. You might say, well, so what are you doing this weekend? So you're kind of assessing before you ever ask them out how they react to that kind of question. So if they say, oh, nothing.
Yeah, that's a sign that they want you to ask them to do anything.
That's a good sign.
Actually, they're playing it at that art house theater on Sepulveda next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that seems interesting.
Yeah, what are you doing next week?
I don't have any plans as of right now.
Oh, well, you should come with me and watch it.
That would be really fun.
And that's also where you would ask for things like contact information, cell phone numbers, things if you didn't already have them.
Right. Well, you want to exchange numbers, or?
Of course.
So basically those are the steps for, asking someone out on a date. You just want to be trading information, find some common interests, ask them if they're sort of available and whatever time. If they seem interested, maybe ask them out related to that common interest, and then, exchange the contact information and all of that.
Now, is there something to be said about practicing these things?
Definitely. I mean, all of the skills that we teach in Peers, we not only go over these rules and steps of social etiquette, but then we actually want to demonstrate what they look like to our kids and then have them practice.
All right. Yeah, I know that girl was kind of not really a good actress. But that's because she wasn't an actress. Because she was a real girl. No, she wasn't a real girl. I mean, she wasn't. She was acting. Internships really important. I really stress that. applying, and I'm going to have 15 minutes always, like I like to have 15 minutes at the end to do question and answer for like just in general. Applying for jobs, you got to apply for a lot. It's kind of like dating, as I said. Once you get the job, you got to keep it. This is an example of how not to keep the job. But I would say that in reality, it is hard for us to keep jobs because of that social element. And there's all this office politics and stuff that I'm still can't even navigate, you know? And it's just like hard for me, like even on the show, like it's like, especially in Hollywood, there's politics. And it's like, you know, when should I say this, or who should I say be nice to, and who should I not be nice to, or who should I confide my secrets in? Like you need to be very careful at a job because there's like all this political stuff that can like end up not working in your favor. And I say have high hopes for your kids because honestly, like if you had looked at me when I was younger, you would not have expected me to be sitting up here, well, you definitely wouldn't have been expecting me to be sitting up here. I'm standing. You would not have expected me to be standing up here telling you all these things about that I've done, creating the website, having jobs. I worked at AOL. I worked for a nonprofit called CARE. I did all this great stuff that I think I'm personally proud of, and I think that I really want to instill the idea that everyone is capable of that. Because if you looked at me, like as I said, when I was in high school, even you would think this guy is a disaster. Like nothing's good's going to come out of this. Watch out. So, questions. Yeah, are you with the jean jacket? Or not jean? Do you mean high school or college? Yes, I did. I had a resource teacher who would help me. I had extended times on tests. If you don't have extended times on tests, really bad situation because I get distracted by every single thing, including the way like the air conditioner would distract the hell out of me or something. Well, the air conditioner wouldn't, but if it were loose and it were rattling, it would, which a lot of times happens in schools because they're underfunded and they can't, afford to tighten, the vents. Yeah, it was like, I saw a talk by this guy, David Finch, who wrote a book about being married and having Asperger's. And he was talking about these clocks that they have in schools. Like sometimes they don't like go smooth. Like so they'll go like the second hand will go like 5 seconds and then like make all this grinding and skip a few seconds. And everyone would shake their head. I didn't know this was true. I guess my school could afford good clocks, or at least, or maybe, yeah. But anyway, well, did I answer the? Oh yeah, I did have services. Yeah, so it's important. Next question. I hope that answered it.
You had a help slide that you were, I guess you were going to tell us
Yeah. So when you ask for help, a lot of times people on the spectrum, instead of asking in a way that will get them what they want, they either demand something and piss the person off, and then they don't get what they want, or they just don't ask the way they should, or they don't ask, which is the worst of any, I think. Even pissing the person off, like at least you tried. You need to ask for help. But for example, like in school, sometimes in college I had like a disability services office, and they got this new guy who like replaced the old one. She was great, loved it, got extended time. He instituted this thing where you have to fill out a form to take a test or a quiz, and like to get extended time or to like be able to use the services. And also you would use them in like the freaking like some room that had a shaky vent, which was worse than being in the classroom. So I went up to my professors, and some of them, most of them actually were perfectly fine with this, and they said, I said, listen, all right, you and I both know that there's a lot of red tape with the Disability Services Office. And she's like, yeah, I know, they're so annoying to deal with, God. I'm like, so here's what I propose. Instead of going through them, why don't we work something out where, I get a little extra time to do things and get my accommodations without having to fill out these forms? Because as you and I both know, Professor Fuchs, you and I both know this. I forgot what we knew. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know what we know. Well, we do know that, but I was going to say something else that was even, what? What? That's true. That's not. Oh, you and I both know that it's going to kind of be hard for me to fill out a form, submit it to the Disability Service Office if you give me a pop quiz. So I don't know how I can plan that. Yeah. Someone, oh, next question. Yes. Yeah. Well, I was very anxious, but here's the thing, you know, I think that one of the therapies that they give for people who are afraid of heights is to take them skydiving. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that while I was incredibly anxious a lot of the times I flew, now when I go to the airport, it's kind of just like going, you know, to the gym or something. You know, like I don't care that I have to go through security. I don't freak out. I don't care about the plane. Like, you know, it's just sort of a thing I do because I fly enough to all these conferences. But before, I would like be like, which actually, oddly enough, would get me always tagged by the TSA for being a suspicious character. But now they don't search my bags anymore either, so it's even better. Yes.
That you can share with us sort of the secret to your success, anything that kind of boiled down into, you know, we get stressed when we're in situations, the office politics, dealing with that. Is there a, without going to job coaching, there might not be a short answer to this, but how did you deal with office life and work life and that kind of thing?
Well, see, for me, the few office jobs that I worked, I kind of just got bored with them, like, before I got fired, I guess. Like, but I bet you that I probably would have gotten fired eventually. The way to deal with it is just practice. I mean, honestly, you probably will get fired from your first job if you're not good at, you know, these things. Or maybe you won't. Like, it depends. So, like, you know, you could work for the government or something, like the federal government, and it's, like, impossible to fire anyone who works for them. Or you know, but yeah. I hope that helps. It probably does, it does it. No, just like be very careful of who you confide things in. Like, also if there's like happy hours, like, you know, try to befriend people outside of the workplace sometimes and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know if they have happy hours at jobs here, but they do in cities that are bigger. Yes?
You mentioned when you would throw plates and get angry, or what would be the best way when you're having that kind of tantrum that the people around you could do? What would you wish that they could do?
Leave me alone for a second. Like, don't try to calm me down. Like, or, you know, or like, don't continue to like talk about what was making me angry or something, I guess. But honestly, like, I think it's like something that really is hard to deal with. I mean, I'd say, you know, it's funny, the reason that I would throw plates is because, like, I didn't want to be disturbed. I was, like, researching stuff online, and my parents were coming to collect the plates that had been collecting in my room that, like, I never brought to the dishwasher, which was a very nice thing for them to do. They could have made me do it. I mean, it's like, you know, but I don't know. In that situation, it's kind of like, I don't know, like, yeah, because, so they were kind of dirty plates, I guess, you know. And it was messy, too. I hope that helps. I feel like my answers don't help anyone. Maybe, or I hope they help people. I don't know if they do or not. Next question. Come on, someone raise your hand. Yes. So this is what I think. I think that for one thing, Asperger's was sort of this like line in the sand that just someone drew that unfortunately you really isn't very easy to differentiate between the two. I mean, if they're not on the line, it's easy, but if there are people that would be diagnosed like on one day with one thing, and then if they had gone another day where not having a crazy stressful day, they could have a completely different diagnosis. So I think that actually is more accurate. As far as getting services, I think that it will still, I personally think that just as many people will be getting diagnosed on the autism spectrum. An umbrella now that includes Asperger's, it even specifies that it includes it. The people who were diagnosed as Asperger's or people who would have been diagnosed as Asperger's will still get that diagnosis. I hope it doesn't stop people from getting a diagnosis because of misunderstanding what autism is. I hope that doesn't happen. Yeah. Next question. Someone on the, yes?
When did you learn that you could be a comedian and entertain a crowd, and how did you develop that humor?
Well, I've never been called a comedian before. I thought I was just giving a talk. No, I have a feeling though if I went to if this were a nightclub that I don't know if I do as well. Maybe I would. How did I develop it? Here's the thing. When you go through a lot of experiences that and you get through them in a way and you have all these experiences to share, I feel like it helps to make fun of yourself or to make fun of the situation because it is it's a way that I cope. Other people may cope in a different way, but for me, also being funny, I think, is something that allows you to make people like you, even if you're awkward at social skills. They're like, oh, it's that funny guy. We want to bring him to the party, make everyone laugh. That'd be great. Yeah, it's I mean, people will want to hang out with you if you can make them laugh because people like laughing. So I think it was my way in, I guess, and my way to get, I think, social skills and have friends, That was what I did. I don't know if it's everyone has the capacity to do that or not, but next question, you right here. Well, yeah, I mean, for instance, there's you have to have your humor be appropriate for the crowd. So, for instance, I've said things that didn't make someone laugh, but if I had said it to someone else, they would have laughed. But that doesn't mean I should go say it to you guys. For instance, I thought before my talk, there's some jokes that I think are really funny, maybe even funnier than this, what I've said here. However, we're in the Bible Belt, and I feel like it might be offensive to some of you folk here. So I did not use those jokes. So and but you should be respectful of people, and tailor it that way. Another question? Yes.
I am a parent of a child on the spectrum, and going through that routine, they always tend to have a. Thank you. They always tend to have a fascination over certain things. Mine right now is Minecraft. What can a parent do to help these children break down from the time away from the computer?
So,
what will be your recommendation?
So in case you guys didn't hear it, Minecraft, if you don't know what it is, it's actually called Minecraft, but I think a more apt description is Minecraft, because it's I don't understand. I don't, honestly, I think you should maybe find ways to use that interest in video games as to foster an interest in designing them himself or herself, because there are now majors at most universities that have video game design, and that's a very good thing. But I mean, obviously, if it's making it so you can't do anything else, try. I mean, just try a lot of different things. No one thing will work, in every situation. And you don't know if it's going to work, but you just keep trying and trying different ways to break them out of the shell or other things to get the interest. Because eventually, at least me personally, we lose our interests and yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, very defiant. In fact, if I wanted to do something, but then my parents asked me to do that thing that I wanted to do, I would refuse to do it. So yeah.
Alex, we have time for one more question.
All right. Who gets the last question? Come on. Let's see. No. Is there another? Yes. Yeah. It's hard because, for me personally, the only reason I grew out of that is because I realized that it alienated people. I think try to apply it and be like, well, you know how you say you want to make friends? Like, this is not the way to make friends. Like, if you do this to other people, they're probably not going to want to be your friend. So if you acted like this in school, you know, people might not want to be your friends. Unless you're like, you come in like the bad boy like character, and they're like, yeah, that guy's like stinging it to the teachers. All right, so thanks for coming. All right, that's it.